We're being blinded by science. Welcome to the Sci Friday edition of SkyWatch TV News. I'm Derek Gilbert, and with me in studio, a graduate from Indiana University with a degree with honors in molecular biology and a genetics emphasis. My wife and best friend, Sharon Gilbert. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. This is something you and I have been planning on doing for a long, long time, and that's just talking about science and science fiction, mind you.
Yes.
But today it's all science, and that's why we call it Sci-Fi Friday or Sci Friday.
You think we should have told Tom Horn before we started this?
No.
Okay, well.
He's out of town anyway.
That's right. Well, especially for today, I've worn my Star Trek tie, which not only features the original Enterprise, but the Next Generation Enterprise and Deep Space Nine. So I'm well prepared.
But it doesn't have the Voyager.
No.
That's the one with the female captain.
it's an old tie.
I know, honey,
well,
that's okay. No, lots to talk about today.
Yeah, you wanted to talk about something that our friend Wesley J. Smith, who, like you, is featured in the forthcoming documentary Inhuman, talked about on his blog this week at National Review, and that is a human brain, or something like a human brain, grown in a dish.
Well, I've seen that all over the news in the last couple of days. Scientists have figured out a way, and it's a couple of labs doing it, who have figured out a way to grow what they're calling a 99% complete human brain in a petri dish. The fact is, this was based on pluripotent cells, which means a cell that can turn into anything, depending on what various chemicals you pour on that tissue. It was made from the skin cells of an adult, so this is not fetal skin cell or fetal tissue experimentation, praise God. But this brain is supposed to be used for experimenting with various pharmaceuticals. Great idea. I'm not so sure they really are going to be able to do this the way the news is spinning it, though, because this brain is sort of equivalent to a 5-week-old fetus. It does not have any cardiovascular system.
So no blood oxygenating the tissue?
No, nothing like that. They're going to have to constantly bathe it to keep it alive. But there's also no immune system. There's no lymphatic system. And there was a story that just came out also this week saying that scientists have finally discovered that there are lymphatic ducts in the brain, which the assumption all along has been that there were not.
That's really remarkable, considering how much study has gone into the structure of the brain over the last 150 years,
Well, exactly,
over the centuries.
But the reason this is being discovered now is because we have major brain initiatives taking place all over the world in the developed nations. There's a race to figure out exactly what makes you tick.
And there's some implications to that go way beyond just trying to cure disease.
That get into the spiritual. But one of the implications with this story about the brain in a dish is when asked about it, the scientists again said, well, no, it's not complete, but it also does not have consciousness. And it was really interesting for a couple of reasons that they even said that. One of the implications to saying it could have consciousness is that somehow you can genetically or chemically induce a sentient brain. But the other part that really bothers me is they seem to have some sort of disconnect in their own brains that when they're talking about a 5-week-old fetal equivalent brain, they're saying that a fetus has consciousness.
I wonder if they've considered that implication.
Oh, I don't think he has.
That's really intriguing. Now, there are some potential benefits that have come from this discovery. I mean, first of all, is that if they can do this with a brain using adult stem cells extracted from adult skin cells, which means no human cloning required to extract embryonic stem cells, no embryonic stem cells extracted from harvested, aborted babies. They may be able to do this with other organs for organ transplants.
They're already doing it with other organs. They're growing various organs with pluripotent cells extracted from skin cells. But you said no cloning. You can clone with a pluripotent cell. You can turn them into eggs and sperm.
Ah, okay. Well, that raises all kinds of other questions.
In fact, a Japanese research team did.
Okay.
What, 3-4 years ago?
And that creates all kinds of other implications too.
Yes,
Would
it
a
does.
cloned human have a soul?
Well, I think these scientists are implying that they believe somehow through a process of their own ability to bathe it in certain chemicals or make certain genes turn on, that they can.
Well, it just leads back to the old joke about the scientists telling God that we don't need him, and God saying, no, if you want to create life, use your own dirt.
Yeah, use your own dirt, exactly.
Well, what are the implications here as far as, I mean, where does this lead? I mean, we can see some potential medical benefits to this, but from a spiritual aspect, what are the implications?
Well, I think the fact that they're even mentioning sentience is troubling, because there are those within the transhumanist movement that want to create clones that are actual carbon-based life forms that their consciousness will be uploaded to, and that they can just go into a series of clones. There are others who say, no, I want to go into a robotic human hybrid structure that is more robust. I don't want to get sick. I think scientists are going to use this this capability of taking a skin cell and turning into whatever they want, God's dirt, and altering it. I think we're going to see cloning. I think we're going to see transhumanism take a different direction. I think this sort of idea will eventually go into computer design. Talk about the Cylons.
Yeah.
If you can figure out a way to so genetically alter a cell that it can become anything you want, and then edit the genes within that growing cell and marry that to a robotic technology or computer technology, you end up with a possible Cylon, something that looks human, but in fact is not.
Well, and that leads to another story that you wanted to talk about today, which I think is really intriguing, and that is the claim that DNA molecules can be used for data storage.
Well, that also gets into the idea of Cylons. I'm glad you brought that up.
That's my point.
I'm glad you brought that up.
That's what we in the radio business call a segue. No.
You're good. Anybody who's studied much about computer languages knows that everything is based on ones and zeros. So you have a 1 or a 0, you have two possible things you start with, and from that there is a code that is behind everything on your computer, all based on ones and zeros. DNA uses 4 integers, not a 1 and a 0, it's got 4. So the possibility of creating a code for storing information is much more finely tuned. It is much more capable. In fact, the DNA in your cell, I think a lot of people, when they picture DNA, they picture the actual molecule itself, that beautiful twisted helix. It's a gorgeous molecule. God is so amazing. And the creation that he has made for us is just full of surprises. But the fact is that in your nucleus, the cell's nucleus, it's really compacted. It's not just stretched out, because there's no way it would fit in your cell. It wouldn't fit in the cell itself, much less the nucleus. But it is, if you can imagine a piece of rope, and all of these little, you know how when you have to, the water hose that we have at home.
Yes.
How hard it is to coil it up and store it. Well,
Yeah.
if you have actually some sort of little device that you can turn, and in other words, there's some sort of spool that it goes on. There are proteins called histones, and these serve as little spools that DNA is wound on, and then histones get together, and they're actually sort of zigzag stacked together. There is a system of a variety of histone molecules that actually compact this, and that's the chromosome you see. It's super, super densely compacted DNA molecule into these structures that we call chromosomes. This is where we can store tons of information, but that's been around for a decade or more. Now scientists, and that's what just came out, believe that they can store this information and keep it readable for 100,000 years.
On DNA, in other words, create a customized strand of DNA using those 4 base pairs, GATC, was it guanine? Well, I don't know, try to remember.
Adenine, thymine, cytosine.
Very good, Mrs. Gilbert. You see why you got the degree with honors. Those 4 base pairs, because you've got many more combinations available to you than just the 1 and 0, and create a customized DNA molecule that would essentially be like writing computer code.
Absolutely right.
There was a story recently, and I just was looking this up, that the Scripps Research Institute have engineered a bacterium whose genetic material includes an added pair of DNA letters, bases, not found in nature. There's another, and this was actually from a year ago, but there was another story that just came out within the last few weeks that researchers in Florida, I believe, are trying to come up with additional base pairs to come up with 6, 8, 10, or 12 base pairs, which would then exponentially increase the amount of information you could pack into that little helix.
That's true. That experimentation has been going on for a couple of decades. And in addition to that, there are scientists who want to make a triple helix or a quadruple helix. In other words, increase the surface area, so to speak, to be for storage, but keep the basic size the same.
It's astonishing. I mean, it's amazing science, but again, what are the moral, ethical, and spiritual implications?
Well, God himself said that all of creation reproduces after its kind. And mankind, who was created by God, is busy trying very hard to be little gods and create his own kind, his own brand new entities.
I was watching some of the early sections of the forthcoming documentary Inhuman last night, and a transhumanist, Professor James Hughes, Trinity University in Hartford, Connecticut, made the argument that over time humans have started with wolves, and from wolves we've bred everything from Chihuahuas to Great Danes. And so therefore we should be allowed to tinker with DNA in any way we choose because we're already effectively doing it. How do you respond to that?
That is not tinkering with DNA. That's actually using just good breeding practices. That's even in the Bible. We see where Jacob is, given hints by God as to how to get the strongest sheep from Laban's flocks. That's been going on for a long time. When you actually go in and you alter the letters or you insert genes from other species, that's different. That's radically different. In fact, you and I, before this, we were talking about what we would discuss. And one of the things that I think we may have to devote an actual entire show to are the legal implications of changing DNA. And is it healthy to have plants and animals who have been so radically altered using the newest editing methods? In fact, the Reagan laws that go back to the 80s, that's what we're currently using to figure out whether or not the GMO foods that are out there are safe, whether they're legal, whether they're allowed. The FDA doesn't have a whole lot of say in it. So you and I could be eating all sorts of stuff and not be aware of it.
Yeah, laws are not keeping up with the technology.
No, and they're no longer actually, recreating after their kind.
Yeah. Good point. We're already at about 12 minutes in this program. Time it always goes much faster when we talk to one another than what we anticipated. But we do want to talk a little bit about space travel in honor of the necktie here.
Yes.
NASA has come up with some interesting things that are, I think, an appropriate way to, well, maybe not appropriate, but at least an entertaining way to close out our week on SkyWatch TV.
Trust me, this will not, they'll never watch us again.
As we look for ways, yes. As we look for ways to send researchers out into space, how they get through the Van Allen belt, that's for another show. They're looking for ways to carry enough food to sustain astronauts for long periods of time.
And recycling is very important when you're in a small spaceship and you have to exist for long periods of time. Well, science has just figured out a way. Actually, NASA's gotten a $200,000 grant to study ways to recycle human waste.
Does that mean what I think it means?
Into food, yeah, it does. It means exactly what you think it means. Now, the good news there is there's another story out today that scientists have also created a vomiting machine. For those of you who just heard this story and you need your own vomiting machine, they're using it to study the norovirus. So scientists are taking good care of us.
Yeah. They've got us coming and going. So.
They do.
We appreciate you watching today, and we appreciate your support here at SkyWatch TV. It helps us to do what we do, which is to talk about issues that are often not discussed in Christian circles. And for your gift of $20 or more during the month of August, we'd like to offer these two books to you. First, and the true account of the discovery of one of the wickedest cities in all of history, discovering the city of Sodom, and the most recent book, and maybe even the last book from Billy Graham, 95 years old, and boldly proclaiming the gospel in this book. A very clear message of sin, salvation, the need for salvation, because the wages of sin is death. Billy Graham, The Reason for My Hope, Salvation. Those books, your gift from SkyWatch TV for your gift of $20 or more during August, and details on how to give posted at skywatchtv.com. Well, this has been fun. We'll need to do this again.
Let's do this again if they let us.
Yes, once Tom is back from North Carolina, all bets are off. Have a blessed weekend, and thanks for watching. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.